Hi everyone, my name is Tom Jordan and I'm a solutions architect with DeWitt's Application Infrastructure Services Group. I've been involved in system and data integration for most of my career with a particular focus on identity and access management. I've worked on integration projects large and small and across the UW system. I'm a contributing architect for Internet 2's Trusted Access Platform and am the lead architect for UW-Madison's Interoperability Transformation Initiative, which is our topic for today. In our session today, I'll provide you with a little background on our initiative and will update you on some of our progress to date. I'll describe the work that we're anticipating over the next year or so, and we'll talk about some of the activities closely related to our interoperability efforts. Finally, I'll identify some opportunities for you to engage with our work and influence its direction. So what is this interop stuff all about? Well, it's really about reimagining how we integrate systems and services in order to improve outcomes. Instead of treating each individual system integration as a separate problem, Interop seeks to establish a common set of infrastructure tools and practices that can be used to integrate systems and data in a secure and sustainable way. By doing so, we also hope to smooth the edges between systems so that we can make the user experience more unified and less fractured. In order to accomplish this, we've taken three main areas of focus. Data interoperability focuses on the ability to easily define, present, and exchange data in order to integrate systems and processes. Identity and access services ensure that the right access is provisioned when needed and is removed when it's no longer appropriate. And of course, all of this depends on a rich set of tools to connect applications and data, as well as appropriate guidance to developers and integrators to help them create secure, sustainable integrations. Through the initiative, we've identified four major goals: enabling movement of university data in a secure and sustainable way, conferring appropriate and timely access to systems and data, creating user experiences that align with constituent expectations, and providing enhanced security and privacy controls for individuals and system owners. In order to accomplish the above goals, there's a lot of foundational architecture needed. This diagram describes the emerging data and integration landscape at UW-Madison and hints at the goals achieved by each area. You can see that there is some delineation between the Interop infrastructure and Badger Analytics. This is by design. While our integration and analytics programs are separate and serve different purposes, there are a number of infrastructure components that serve both programs. Additionally, the Interop team is working closely with the Office of Data Management and Analytics Services to ensure that data is defined and represented consistently between our integration and analytics programs, and that access controls are implemented consistently as well. A few notable components in this architecture. Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, aka IICS, provides an integration platform that allows for automated movement of data. IICS provides traditional extract, transform, and load functions, as well as a connector-driven architecture that allows us to integrate with cloud and SaaS applications. Google Apigee has been selected and is being implemented as an enterprise API platform. This will provide the ability to create a university API catalog and a framework for API-based integrations. Salesforce Experience Cloud is our platform for constituent identity management and the basis for creating a digital profile that users can use to manage their personalization, preferences, and privacy. This constituent identity platform will encompass self-registration and social login for easier onboarding and interaction with a wider base of constituents. The Integrator Portal provides our community with information about how to integrate their services into the UW ecosystem. Whether it's integrating UW data into an application or providing access to a cloud application for a particular constituent group, the Integrator Portal provides information about how to engage for a successful outcome. Grouper and Midpoint provide the basis for our identity governance infrastructure, which controls access to services based on our institutional provisioning and deprovisioning rules. The ability to group people into meaningful cohorts and manage their access to services is core to a role-based access control strategy that we'll discuss in more detail later in the presentation. There are a number of other components in our data landscape, but today I'll focus on those related to our integration practice. In the moving university data space, we've made some significant progress. Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, or IICS, has been rolled out as an integration platform and is available for campus use. We're migrating our existing enterprise service bus to use cloud-native services in AWS, and we're retiring our legacy WSO2 ESB products. We've released the first version of our integrator portal at integratedata.wisc.edu, and we're working closely with our friends at the Office of Data Management and Analytics Services on the emerging institutional data standards. Over the summer, we'll be working on deploying the infrastructure for Google's Apogee product, which will serve as our API platform. Apogee provides the framework for us to securely publish and consume APIs at a university-wide scale and is a critical infrastructure component to help us move towards a more API-centric mode of integration. This helps us to move away from batch integrations that are cumbersome, often insecure, and present timeliness challenges. Once Apogee is in place, we'll be working to put together a framework for institutional APIs, starting with those related to base, identity, and person information. We imagine that this work will set the stage for API work in other business domains, such as student or HR. I wanted to take a few minutes to describe the IICS service that's available to campus today. IICS can be used to design integrations between systems that move, update, or synchronize data, call APIs or generate events, or use a variety of pre-built connectors to common services. For example, one could create an IICS job that read a database table, transformed the contents of that table to JSON, and then use the pre-delivered Amazon S3 connector to spool the data into an S3 bucket. IICS uses a component called a secure agent to connect to data sources and targets. The secure agent can be run on-premise or using cloud infrastructure. IICS also provides the ability to change the modality of an integration. For example, IICS can be used to expose a static data table via the OData protocol, effectively providing a REST-based interface to the table. It can also be used to send or receive events via common event services such as Amazon SQS, so that a service that is not natively event-aware can be integrated with an event-based service. We've found IICS to be an effective tool for data integration and orchestration. It does have a few weak points, however. Incorporating IICS assets into a version control strategy is cumbersome, and API security is not particularly scalable. We're hoping to mitigate the API deficiencies with our deployment of Google Apogee. We've recently rolled out the initial release of our integrator portal at integratedata.wisc.edu. This serves as a jumping-off point for various folks that may need to integrate services with the UW ecosystem. A challenge in this space is that many of the people on campus that integrate data would not think of themselves as integrators. Most people approach data analysis or integration as part of a larger job and would view themselves first and foremost as an advisor or an associate dean or an instructor, rather than as a data integrator. We spent a lot of time talking about how to reach those folks where they are so that the integrator portal is focused on task-oriented language that doesn't presume a lot of familiarity with data integration concepts. We're still working to build out content on this site, so could use your suggestions about what's missing or unclear. If you can, please take a look and drop us some feedback. In the provisioning and deprovisioning space, we've been focused mainly on infrastructure that sets the stage for future success. The two important components here are two open source products, Grouper and Midpoint. For those that are not aware, the grouping service that we call Manifest is actually a custom application that we built on top of Grouper back in the days when the Grouper UI was, well, not so great. The Grouper UI has improved greatly over the years, so our longer-term goal is to retire the Manifest UI and custom app and rely on the Grouper UI. Our recent focus has been on upgrading our on-premises Grouper environment in preparation for moving it to cloud infrastructure. At the same time, we've been deploying the infrastructure for Midpoint, which provides an enterprise provisioning and deprovisioning capability. Over the next year, we'll be focused on migrating services away from their largely custom provisioning processes and onto Grouper and Midpoint. Grouper and Midpoint are largely complementary products. We use Grouper today to dynamically group people into logical cohorts that can be used for authorization. And Midpoint will provision and deprovision based on the authorizations that are defined in Grouper. This gives us a single source of truth for authorization information, as well as a fairly rich set of tools for provisioning and deprovisioning. We're excited to use some of Grouper's new features around grace periods. Allowing access for a period of time after someone ceases to be eligible has been tricky and largely customized per service in the past. We'll be happy for a better way of handling this in the future. In the user experience space, we've been working hard to align our constituent identity strategy with the work of our enterprise CRM team. We're working to build out a constituent identity hub that will serve as a repository for all people of interest to the UW. The Constituent Identity Hub will provide person data to downstream identity management functions and to downstream CRM instances. The technology platform for this work is Salesforce Experience Cloud. The goal in this space is to allow users to create and manage what we're calling a profile, which is both a digital identity at the UW and a space where they can manage their attributes of their relationship with the UW, such as their preferred name, gender pronoun, and privacy settings. We envision the ability for users to link social or external accounts to this profile to enable social login to UW services. This slide gives a brief overview of a possible My Profile experience that a user may use to set their preferred name and communicate that preferred name to downstream systems. We've heard in many of our discussions with end users that it's difficult to maintain and update information about themselves in multiple campus systems, so Profile is an approach for users to express and maintain information about themselves that might span their different relationships with the institution. As we work towards the concept of a UW-Madison digital profile and what that might mean for user experience, it's pulling in a lot of discussion about CRM and digital marketing, as well as our future MyUW strategy. Expect to hear more on these fronts as our work evolves. In furthering our goal of improving privacy and security, our Interop efforts have focused on infrastructure and processes to support role-based access control for our campus systems. As we work towards greater automation for provisioning and access to services, and then removing that access when it's no longer appropriate, it's critical that we can identify the various roles that a person may occupy and the access that's necessary to perform that role. To that end, we've been working on documenting service eligibility and business roles for many of our enterprise services. Additionally, we've been working with our Office of Data Management and Analytics to enable role-based access to analytical data in Tableau and Snowflake, and with the student digital ecosystem on defining business roles for access to SDE systems like Canvas, Lumen, and APHIS. This slide is a somewhat lighthearted look at role-based access control from our friends at Evolvium, the makers of Midpoint, which is the open-source provisioning and deprovisioning platform we're adopting as part of our identity governance solution. It describes a core element of role-based access control, which is the understanding that a person may occupy multiple roles and that their access to systems should be the sum of their roles. It is especially true in higher education that a person rarely has just a single relationship to the institution. We are often current employees and former students and prospective non-credit students and potential donors. Access to systems, then, should be additive rather than exclusive and should change dynamically as people change their relationships to the institution. In this chart, you can see how Jack Sparrow and Henry Morgan both have the role of captain and pirate and gain access to important systems based on the sum of their roles. While the UW equivalent to this model is substantially more complex and regrettably unlikely to include a rum supply system, the essential concepts are very similar. We expect that people will have multiple roles and that their access to services should be additive based on the sum of their roles. As we map out this access to services based on role, we are also reviewing the service eligibility rules for many of the enterprise services offered to all faculty, staff, and students. Historically, service eligibility rules have been defined independently by each IT service provider, which has led to a mishmash of eligibility rules that is confusing for end users and difficult for system administrators and the help desk to support. This space is being further complicated by the greater use of cloud systems, where vendors have a much closer accounting of user activity than they had when negotiating licensing for on-prem software. The cloud knows exactly how many users are active, so licenses negotiated by broad FTE count aren't as effective as they were in the past. The goal here is to simplify our service eligibility rules and to make them more transparent. We're working to cluster our services into tiers so that we can offer IT service providers a more simplified menu of service eligibility rather than requiring each one to develop a bespoke set of service eligibility rules. Interop is a pretty big program area, so there's a lot that spills over into different initiatives. I talked about the overlap between our constituent identity work and the enterprise CRM program. There's also a lot of overlap in that space with our online undergraduate degree program efforts. We've been working closely with our partners in the Office of Data Management on the institutional data standards that support our recently released institutional data policy. In particular, we've been working on the data documentation and data authorization standards with the goal of ensuring that any interop tooling we provide is aligned with these standards and helps campus units that adopt the interop tooling to be compliant with the standards. Later this year, we'll be working with the Office of Data Management to launch a data integration standard as well. As the Office of Data Management migrates our data warehouse infrastructure to the cloud, we are working with them to identify applications and infrastructure components that may have dependencies on info access. Since the cloud data warehouse environment is intended only for analytical functions and not integration of operational systems, applications that were integrated against info access need to find a new home. If you're aware of applications that have info access dependencies, please reach out to us. Administrative transformation is another area of work that is closely related to Interop. ATP's ancillary systems study helped to identify a large number of systems that are integrated with the UW ecosystem in one way or another, and as units contemplate migrating or upgrading these systems, we are working with ATP to understand how that aligns with their strategy. In addition to UW-Madison's Interop efforts, our UW Systems CIO is moving forward with an effort to explore a unified identity and collaboration environment for all of UW System. We are using the balance of this calendar year to engage in discovery, design, and planning with the goal of presenting a proposed budget and implementation schedule to the Board of Regents in November. This is a major effort, and if approved by the Regents, the implementation is expected to take 3 to 5 years to implement. There are a number of ways to engage with our Interop efforts. Please see the links on this slide to find ways that you can learn more or provide feedback. If there are specific areas you'd like to learn more about, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this update. There'll be a live Q&A session from 1:30 to 2 o'clock on Friday, June 4th, but please feel free to reach out if you have additional questions. Thank you.